All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Trache Talk podcast. Um, yeah, I did already. I'm going to record my intro after this, but this is Scott. Everybody, Scott Fitzgerald. He is a clinical hypnotherapist and certified master trainer. But that's all I pretty much know about Scott. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, brother?
Sure. Well, I work as a hypnotherapist. I'm trained in like clinical hypnotherapy, but I really focus on spiritual hypnotherapy, investigating, exploring past lives and spirit guides and life between lives and stuff like that. So the main focus is helping people remember who they really are as souls because we forget, we get immersed in our lives, and we sort of forget where we came from. So this is like a timeout during a basketball game. You maybe it's the second half of the third quarter or something. You take a timeout, you go over to the sideline, you talk to the coach, like, what was I supposed to do? Like, you're supposed to watch number 17. He's scoring all the points. Like, oh yeah, now get in there, kid. All right. So you can go to your coach or your spiritual guides, teachers that we have in spirit, angels, whatever you want to call them, guardian angel, and get a little pep talk and get a little remembering about your assignment. Why did you come here? Because it's not random. It's not accident. We actually choose these lifetimes for certain reasons, certain purposes. As souls, we want to grow, we want to evolve, we want to develop, we want to grow and expand our awareness. And so we live these physical lifetimes as part of our training. In college or maybe even in high school, they have the lecture and they have the lab. So when you go to the lecture, you learn all the theory about everything. But then you have to go in the lab and like try it out and hopefully don't blow the place up. Well, that's what Earth's all about and other physical worlds. This is the lab where we try out the theories and that kind of thing. So
I
I
like
can
that.
go on and on about this. I'll
And
let
I
you
could
jump in.
and I could listen to you all day, brother.
Oh, wow, you're very
Well,
you're very kind.
that's awesome. Well, thanks for, just explaining what you do and kind of the background behind it. How long have you been doing hypnotherapy?
I'm over 20 years now. I started training in 2000, I think. Yeah. So I've been at it for a while. This is the longest I've ever done anything. in my
Really? You must love it then.
Most of the time. Sometimes it has its challenges.
Yeah, just
Some
like anything, right?
just like anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, doing anything for 20 years, I can't even imagine. You hear people like, yeah, I've been a doctor for 38 years or whatever, like, wow, really? Or a postal worker or something.
Hmm.
Like, wow, you go in there like for that every day for like years and years. It kind of amazes me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still hanging in there. It's still fascinating. So
Well, that's
for the
awesome,
time
man.
being, this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You doing that for 20 years is as long as some people have been alive. And so, yeah, it's, you started, put it into perspective. You started when I was 5. So,
Oh,
yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, for people who are listening or watching, can you explain the difference between hypnotherapy and traditional therapy?
yes. I'm not a psychologist or a counselor or a licensed, you know, psychotherapist or a psychiatrist. Um, so I'm not really qualified or up to talk about what exactly they do. Psychiatry is different because that's with medicine and they're MDs, but psychology, counseling, um, marriage and family counselors, it's basically talk therapy where they're going to talk with someone, they're going to understand what's going on and maybe give them some strategies to help them overcome their issue, that type of thing. And they will tend to meet for a long time, like week after week, like maybe, 12 weeks or years sometimes. I've had some clients who said, yeah, I've been going to this counselor for 3 years or 8 years. So the thing I do, what's different about hypnotherapy, it's very quick. It cuts right to the heart of the roots of the problem. It's very, very fast because we're kind of bypassing the conscious memory. Maybe we could talk about your mom and your grandma and your dad who was mean or whatever. That's why you're angry. And that's all good. But with hypnotherapy, we're kind of getting the conscious mind over to the side and we're diving in to the subconscious or the unconscious. Everything you've ever experienced is recorded inside of you, even when you're asleep, even when you're anesthetized having an operation. You could, with hypnosis, you could delve into that. You can access these memories. And so often in childhood, maybe somebody will have a traumatic experience when they're really young, 3, 5, 2, 6 months. And then by the time they're 25 or 50, they've sort of forgotten about it. Or they've put it behind them, or maybe they forgot about it on purpose because it was, holding them back or whatever. But then later, some problem crops up. Why am I angry or why am I depressed? There's really no reason that I should be that I can think of. My life's going pretty good. So that's where hypnotherapy comes in. And there are different kinds of hypnotherapy as well. But the kind of hypnotherapy I do is like regression hypnotherapy. We want to regress to the cause or the roots of this issue. So in fact, I just did that today. And so with the person. So it's very quick. It's like 1 session, 2 sessions, maybe 3 or 4 at the most. If someone's sort of stubborn or I have a hard time getting into it.
Yeah.
But it's not going to go on for years and years.
Oh, wow.
I do have some people that come back, maybe once a year or something like that, because they just like to explore.
Yeah.
But to deal with these types of issues and problems, and again, not to denigrate psychotherapy or psychology, because everything has its place and they help people too.
Right.
But this is a very, very fast way of getting to the roots of a problem, understanding it, getting the learning that they need to get from that, and then sort of healing it, and then coming back to now, and then, wow, they feel so much lighter because they understand that we've healed something in the past. And so now in the future, it's like a monkey off your back.
That's awesome. So just to kind of recap what you just said, hypnotherapy is pretty much digging into the subconscious. Am I correct?
Subconscious or unconscious or just beyond the conscious mind.
Yeah. So it's a lot of things that people may have repressed, like you said, because of traumatic experiences, in childhood. And then just kind of bringing it back up to the surface so they can almost just look at it and deal with it, right?
Yes. And yes, that's a very good summary. The thing is, like if you got like a splinter or a piece of shrapnel or something in your body,
Hmm.
body will tend to encapsulate it to protect it from infecting you or whatever. And maybe you go your whole life and you don't need to dig out that piece of shrapnel. It's okay. It's
Hmm.
encapsulated. It's fine. And so the same with these things in our psyche or our emotions. Sometimes they're shut away, and it's just as well to leave them there, and that's fine. But when something's sort of pushing through, it's pushing through. It wants to come
Yeah.
to the surface, and they're having feelings and emotions or thoughts or problems. That's when it's not that I just want to go digging for fun. I'll
Hmm.
just leave people alone. But when
Hmm.
they have something that's poking out, then we need to take a look at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, Now, did you go to school for this, or were you taught by somebody, or how did you learn to do hypnotherapy?
That's a really good question. There's not really, not that I know of in the United States, there's not really a hypnotherapy course in college or something. Sort of something that you need to go find private training in at this time. Someday it'll probably be in universities, but it's not right now. So personally, I went to someone to learn basic hypnosis and hypnotherapy,
Hmm.
and we had a training course in that. And then you can do additional trainings. Like I trained in past life regression because it's something I was always fascinated with. And lots of other related trainings. There's something called NLP, neuro linguistic
Hmm.
programming.
I've heard of
It's
that.
kind of a side branch of or a outgrowth of hypnotherapy. It's pretty interesting. So I've done some studies in that. And then there was a gentleman named Michael Newton
Mm.
who wrote some pretty fascinating books in the 90s and the 2000s, called Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. He was a psychologist, and he discovered sort of by accident that we have an existence between our lifetimes.
Mm.
So, we have many lifetimes in this world and sometimes in other worlds because it's a
Yeah.
big universe.
Mhm.
And so he sort of stumbled by accident on this notion that we actually have an existence, which is our real existence
Mhm.
in between these physical lifetimes. These are like field trips, but that's like the real home or the school or whatever you want to call it. So
The
he wrote
life
these,
we live right now are field trips. Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
Or
they're sort of just like little field trips, it's kind of like blink of an eye. It seemed
Mhm.
like 80 years is a long time, but in spirit time or in,
Right.
universal time, it's like, psh, it's
Yeah.
on.
It's like
It's
nothing,
like
right?
it's a blink of an eye. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can talk about time in the higher realms. But yeah, so I'm sorry, I kind of
Let's
lost the
No, you're
thread.
good. Let's park right there. You were talking about how we have many different lives and we come from uh I believe you said different worlds and different parts of the universe. Because that resonates with me because that's something that I also believe. I believe that we're here on Earth and we're in our own little solar system with what is it, 8 other planets, and you know I believe that there's no possible way that we're the only intelligent life in existence. And so I think would be very just naive and almost narcissistic to believe that uh, that we're the only ones. You know what I mean? Um, and I think, but I think when people hear that, though, it can be very alarming and it could come off very woo woo. You know what I mean? And people can be very set back by uh, information as such. Can you tell us? and maybe give us some insight onto. Um, I'm not necessarily saying you have to prove it, but it also hasn't been disproven. But yeah, can you give us some more insight on the notion that we are um, that we have many lives? Like, can you just tell us more about that?
Absolutely. And let me back up. I remember what you had asked about training. I just wanted to say, so that gentleman I mentioned, Michael Newton, so he decided he kind of created a framework of helping people to explore their life between lives or their soul existence.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that training in 2004. That really opened things up because now I have the techniques to help people explore things like what you just asked about.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to also comment, I love what you said, that it's naive and narcissistic to think that we're, the only intelligent life in the universe. I love that description because that's exactly right. Okay, there something like, you're welcome. I love it. I'm going to borrow that if you don't mind.
Go for it.
But thank you. So I think there are 200 billion stars or more in the Milky Way galaxy. And there are billions of galaxies. So it's a big universe. And this is only the physical universe that we're aware of. There could be other universes in other dimensions that we're not so aware of. So, but it's a big place.
Right.
And so how many stars? I don't know. And it's still expanding from the Big Bang. New stars are being born all the time. Some are dying, going nova. Some are being born. It's all evolving.
Yeah.
And so I think the universe, they've calculated the Big Bang to like 13.9 billion years ago or something like that. Earth's been around for 4.5 billion years or something like that. So there was a lot going on before this world was even, created out of the maelstrom of whatever. So there's a lot going on out there. And with our more powerful telescopes and radio telescopes and all of this, Hubble and this new one that they're putting up, I forget the name of it. We're discovering new planets. We're discovering planets. We know stars. We're aware of, thousands of stars. We're starting to discover planets. They're like, wow, we found another planet. Wow, we think there's another planet orbiting. So we're starting to see these things. We're starting to discover that there are many, many planets. And so if every star, maybe, or even just some of them, have a solar system, if they have planets, and just if some of them might have a planet where life of some sort could develop or evolve. I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but there's a possibility of a lot of, habitable worlds out there. So in these sessions, we do find that some people, they've lived in other physical worlds. Maybe it was a water world and they kind of were a dolphin type body or something like that.
That's interesting.
Maybe it was a world that was very airy and they were like a giant floating jellyfish floating through the cloud. There's a lot of, look at the crazy profusion of life on Earth. It's insane.
Yeah.
I watch these nature shows. It's like stuff that I've never even seen or couldn't even imagine.
Right.
That's just in this little world.
Yeah, I know.
So imagine the whole universe.
Absolutely.
How many different types of life and stuff there are. So it's like Earth is a school, but it's just one of many schools. And so there are a lot of places to go and learn things in the universe. So
yeah,
let me go back to if you want to comment on that.
Oh,
because you
I'll save it. I'll save it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me go back to your question about like incarnating and reincarnating in past lives. How do we know if this is real or it's just imagination?
Hmm.
Well, honestly, we don't. I don't know. I can't go in a court of law and swear on the Bible or whatever. But yes, because we don't really have empirical scientific proof of this
Hmm.
yet. I don't know.
Right.
We don't have instruments capable of detect, but all the anecdotal evidence, all the stories, little kids in India going, "Hey, mommy, I used to live in that village and I had a different mommy."
Mm.
Just spontaneously remembering other lifetimes.
Yeah.
There's lots of people all over the world that happens to, excuse me, but then in these sessions, we
Hmm.
go and visit, we delve into your history. And then, you're rattling off like, yeah, I was here, I was on the earth, I was in the Old West, I was a gunslinger, I was in Egypt or whatever, I was a slave, I was a
Yeah.
king, whatever.
Can I
So,
pause you right there?
absolutely.
How so in these sessions, these your clients, they're recalling, these past life experiences. How, like, are you, I just want to know how, like, are they just randomly, not randomly, but how detailed are they? Like, how are they recalling these past lives? You know what I mean?
There are different, yeah, yes, I think I do. There are different pathways to get there.
Hmm.
There are different techniques to use to get there. Several different techniques that I might even use. And so uh, I'm getting all of our questions and things. I want to say so much, but
Go ahead,
yeah,
brother.
so basically a person would come to me with a problem or an issue. They'd say, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I feel like I want to change my career. I feel like I've been doing this thing, it's my heart's not in it anymore. Or, maybe there's a relationship problem. What's going on with my son? Right? We can't get along and he hates me, or there's no reason. What's the deal with us? Or some, any kind of problem people have. Uh, so we'll say, well, let's go to the roots of that. It may be in childhood. Uh, if it's an emotional thing, it could have been a trauma, or not even a trauma, but some experience in childhood that made them depressed or feel lonely or whatever. But usually we'll say, let's just go. I'll say, let's just go to the roots of this. Just sort of like the technique is basically this. It's we'll do a pre-talk. We'll talk about their issue,
Hmm.
and we decide to do the session. We'll spend a little time getting them in the zone. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, relax, count them down. There are hypnotic techniques that I use,
Hmm.
and so then we'll get them sort of in the zone, and then we'll use sort of a metaphorical path, like, all right, let's imagine traveling through a tunnel into your own past. And we're going to go to a previous lifetime that
Hmm.
you lived, something that has to do with this issue. And then just sort of count down. There are other pathways to use. Like today, I used what we call an affect bridge, which means they have an emotion or a feeling, maybe even a feeling in their body, like panic or trembling or something. And so I'll focus on that feeling and I'll ask them to make it even stronger. And then that feeling is like a bridge to the past. We can follow that feeling to the very first time they ever felt it.
Hmm.
And so that's another pathway that we'll get. So, boom, we land, and I'll just start asking questions. Is it daytime? Say, like, out of the tunnel, 3, 2, 1, boom, be there now. Is it daytime or nighttime? It's like, well, seems like it's daytime. Okay. Are you inside or outside? Are you male or female?
Mm.
Are you alone or with people? So we'll start establishing the setting that they find themselves in. Now they can land, I call it like a landing point. They can land at anywhere through that life, through from birth, or 5 years old, 10 years old, 50 years old, or their last day. I'm in a war, it's my last day. So they might land anywhere, maybe in the middle of somewhere. So then we'll just establish what's going on with them. Where are you? What's happening? It's usually a pretty quiet moment, although it could be in the middle of a war.
Uh-huh.
We never know where they're going to land.
Hmm.
And so we'll just sort of start to ask questions. Do you have a home? Do you have a family? This, and then I can take them back. Well, let's go back to your childhood in that life. Find out their name, Well, that's Sarah. And then, find out who their family is, and then go through the milestones of the life. And then somewhere in there is going to be something connected to this issue that brought them to me. Then we'll go through the death and up into a spiritual state. And so I do something called the past life and spirit guide session. So we'll take them through the life, all back and forth, and then through the death. And then we'll go up into spirit, and we'll sit down like on a bench, a park bench or wherever, and chat just like we're chatting now. We'll chat with their spiritual guides. And I do this through them, through their voice. So I'm not picking up information. It's not like a psychic reading.
Uh-huh.
Coming through their voice. So I'll ask the guide, I'm going to ask some questions directly to you. I'm going to ask you to place it in Matt's mind, or even through his voice as if channeling you.
Mm-hmm.
So then we'll understand, what was that life all about? How is that connected to this life? Why we were shown that past life today? What's the lesson? What's the the learning? What's the whole point?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always a point. There's always a lesson or something. Why are you overweight in this life? Every time you see food, you have to stuff it in your mouth. Well, back in Victorian London, you were on the streets and you were starving.
Mm.
Every little calorie you had to eat. You had to steal food and everything. Anytime you saw food, you'd stuff it in your mouth because every calorie was just survival.
Yeah.
So then we'll understand, okay, well, that's interesting, but that was then. This is now. There's supermarkets on every corner. There's, food banks and everything. You don't need to stuff the food in your mouth so much.
Yeah.
It's not like it was. So they'll sort of understand. Something they were kind of carrying with them, this compulsion to stuff food in their mouth because it was about survival. But now, now they understand, wow, so that's where that comes from. Well, and it just sort of breaks the cycle. It breaks the compulsion to understand where that came from. And so now it's just like, oh, wow, I guess I don't have to do that. And then they usually don't. They usually realize, wow, So then their eating probably becomes pretty normal or average. So that's just, an example. So that's why, this is how looking at other lives and other situations in other lives, they carry over sometimes. And so when we understand the root cause, we can break the cycle, basically.
Okay. I do want to ask you something. I was listening to one of the talks that you had emailed me. I forget the name of, but it was a pretty lengthy talk that you had that you had done, and you even mentioned it here about spirit guides. Could you tell people, because I know at face value, when you hear that, it could come off very woo woo.
Yeah. Sounds like fairy tales. Like,
Exactly.
my fairy godmother.
Exactly.
Or, yeah. Well, yeah, as souls, I mean, you're going to have to take a leap of faith with this stuff
Mhm,
to get into this world. I mean, you don't have to. You
mhm.
can just, and some people, they don't need to know about this stuff. They don't need to do a past life regression because they're fine. They're supposed to immerse in this life, and they're supposed to raise a family and have a construction business and have grandkids, and that's all they need to do. They don't need to worry about all this woo-woo past life stuff, right? Because they wanted to immerse in this life. So I don't go around the street corners telling everybody, you need to do a past life, because they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. But once you step into this possibility, you're going to say, okay, let's assume that we are souls. Something is animating this body beyond just chemicals and magnetism and electricity. I think most people feel that. Hard scientists might say, we're just a collection of electrochemical whatever reactions.
Uh-huh.
There's no such thing as a soul. But you know what? Everyone knows better
Right.
inside of themselves, even if they can't pin their science on it. I think most of us feel there's something that's animating me,
Yeah.
and not to put science down, because I love science and I think the scientific method is very important.
Mhm.
But there's things that science cannot explain. For example, what is sleep?
Yeah.
We don't know. What is a thought? Exactly.
Mm.
What is a memory? What is a daydream? I don't know. I mean, I don't think science can explain those things to my satisfaction.
Uh-huh.
And so if we're going to jump to this world, we are souls. Well, we have big brothers and big sisters who've been there before us. And we have younger ones too. Like when you're in fifth grade, you got sixth graders and you got fourth graders.
Mhm.
So wherever we are, there's people ahead of us on the ladder and there's people below. The people ahead of us on the ladder, one thing that they do is to help lift the younger ones up.
Mhm.
So that's us. So we have these spiritual beings who were like us. They lived lives on earth, many, many lives. So they've been there and done that. But now they're involved in guiding us and helping us because in some way, in some level, we're all connected. And so have you ever heard of The 100th Monkey? It's a book, this interesting thing. Ever heard of that?
I have it. What
Okay.
is it?
There's some island somewhere. There was monkeys on the north side of the island and monkeys on the south side. I may not have my details perfect, but it's basically two different branches of monkeys, and they didn't really go back and forth. So let's say the monkeys on the south side of the island, they learned how to use a stick and how to dig up, ants or something. So they learned like a tool, use of a tool. And then, but somehow after a certain number of monkeys learned how to do this on the south side, spontaneously, the monkeys on the north side of the island started doing it too, even though there was no intercourse between them.
Wow.
Okay. I don't mean sex. I mean, no
Yeah.
teaching.
Mhm.
But yeah, so like, how the heck does that happen?
Yeah.
Somehow in this like monkey connected brain of whatever, this new thing got spread.
Mhm.
And so it's the same with people. It's the same with souls. So my point in bringing that up is that whenever any of us learn something new, or we attain like a new level, like a role-playing game, I leveled up, you know.
Mhm.
Every time someone jumps up, we all raise up a level
Mhm.
because we're all connected. So it behooves us to help other people come up. out of besides just compassion and the goodness of wanting to help someone, it also helps you because as every single person learns and grows and becomes more aware, it helps the entirety.
Mhm.
So so the vast pool of souls, which is probably pretty infinite, someone established this thing where, look, I'm going to guide you. I'm going to help you through this, through these series of lives, maybe 1,000 lives or 100 lives or however many.
Mhm.
I'm gonna help you plan them out. I'm going to help you even while you're in them. I will communicate with you in certain ways, maybe in signs or maybe in thoughts, which feel like intuition, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so, and then when we die, we go up and talk to them and say, well, how did I do? They're like, you did pretty well,
Yeah.
but you missed this. You know, they always say, you did well, but you could have done better. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
gee, thanks.
I know, right?
So, so it's like having a mentor or a counselor, something like that.
Yeah.
And so the cool thing is that we can access them with these sessions and just even in meditation,
Mm.
that kind of thing. Everyone has many guides, not just one. We have like a whole, like, squadron of different guides that are helping us. And they have different students too that they're looking
Yeah.
after. So it's like a guardian angel. It's like a spiritual being looking
Yeah.
out for you. We have friends in high places.
Mm.
The cool thing is that we can consult with them and connect with them even while we're in a body.
Okay. How do we do that? What are some ways that we can connect with our spirit guides?
Well, one way is to just probably the main thing is to just ask. Just ask. If
Just
spirit guide, you don't even have to do a big ritual or anything. You just close your eyes and get quiet for a minute and just go, if I have a spirit guide, would you please come and talk to me, or please show me something in my mind, or please give me a sign, of some kind that you're there.
Yeah.
Maybe I have this question or a problem. Can you please give me a hint about it,
Yeah.
or help me out? So the most important thing is to ask, because I don't know if you're familiar with like old Star Trek at all. Star Trek.
I am not. I'm not a Star Trek.
Well, old classic Star Trek, Captain Kirk and all that. They have this doctrine of non-interference. We're not going to interfere. We go to a planet. We're not going to interfere in their culture.
Okay.
We're not going to give them laser guns because they're still using bows and arrows. So it's the same with spirit guides. They're not really going to interfere with our lives.
Mhm.
We're not just puppets on a string that they're dancing around. There's no point to that. We need to learn. We need to have challenges. We need to overcome them by ourselves. So they're not going to do everything for us or give us all the answers. But if we ask, they're usually pretty open to giving us a hint or giving us a little bit of guidance. Sometimes maybe we're off track and we need to get back on track. So they're usually open to that, but we have to ask. So basically, I would say to your viewers or listeners, you want to connect with your spirit guide? It's simple. Just like close your eyes and get quiet and just ask, please, my guide or guides, would you please, help me out? I'm asking for help. So that's number one. You got to ask. And then you got to listen in your mind. It may come as thoughts. It may come as words whispered in your mind. It may come as pictures or images. They may show you a sign, like all of a sudden a song comes on the Pandora or something with a certain lyric that has a message for you. You're like, wow, that's weird.
Mhm.
And you're like, thanks. Or, maybe there's a white feather or
Yeah.
something, some kind of symbol that means something to you.
Yeah.
So that's another way they speak to us is through signs. Maybe even an animal like I was swimming the other day in the pool outside, and there was an owl, like a pretty big owl,
Wow.
came and sat on this tree right overlooking the pool, and it was just like staring at me. I was like,
That's
maybe
awesome.
he wants to get a drink of water from the pool or something. And then I thought, if I swim over by where he is or she is, probably gonna fly away. No, didn't. It was only about 20 feet up.
Oh wow.
So it just stayed there for like half an hour,
Oh
sitting on
wow.
that branch. So I was like, okay, what's that all about? What's
Mhm.
someone trying to, I felt like someone was trying to tell me something, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so just be aware. Once you ask, you need to listen. You need to be
Mhm.
open and aware of signs.
Okay. Yeah. So,
So
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
I was just gonna say it's just so it sounds like you can ask for spirit guides to, you know, drop these subtle, I guess, hints to know that to let for them to let you know or communicate to you that they're there, and you can either ask for, you know, confirmation on whether you're headed down the right path or you headed down the wrong path, or whether you made the right decision or the wrong decision. So it sounds like you can ask spirit guides for these subtle hints, but they won't. But I'm guessing they won't come to you in like full, uh, I guess, in a physical manifestation. Or
Well, it's always different.
yeah.
And sometimes it's not so subtle.
Mm,
Sometimes they work through people.
mm,
Someone comes up to you and they just say something that maybe has something to do with what you were thinking about.
mm,
It's like they were sort of, they were given a little task, a little errand to help you, or someone calls you and tells you about something that you were wondering about. I mean, we all have these little coincidences, right,
yeah.
in our lives. So that's part of it. So yeah, just ask and listen. And then if you feel like you need a little help, or maybe you want to get deeper, you can do like a meditation. Probably on YouTube, there's millions of meditations to meet your spirit guide. I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
Try some
I've
of
tried
those.
some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
How did it work out?
Uh, I feel like kind of like you said, I've, you know, they've either come in like coincidences or, uh, I think a lot of times they speak to me through angel numbers, you know, and so um, I do believe there is. I've always believed that, you know, we're all like, you know, spiritual beings having a human experience. Although I couldn't, you know, define it that way when I was younger, but I've always believed there is something bigger than life here on earth. And so, yeah, and I think I've always been guided. You know, I kind of always had that awareness, and I've always kind of felt it. And even just looking back on my life, I've always kind of felt like, okay, like I've been protected or I've been guided, or um, just little things like that. I know, like, okay, like you got some people that are, you know, kind of watching me, watch my back, and, you know, watching out for little brother. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
You
I've
do.
always,
We all do.
yeah. And it's so crazy to think that way, but I know, because again, you know, people might think it's crazy to believe that, but I mean, hey, like we're all, I look at it this way, like you can't explain, you know, consciousness, like how we're the ability to think, the ability to speak, the ability to know other, to our knowledge, you know, no other being on this planet, no animal, no anything, not even AI. And AI is getting pretty close, but AI doesn't have the type of, you know, emotions that we can, you know, that we're able to have. And so all these components that make up, us as humans, the which is essentially our soul, I would say, or how I would define it, there's nothing like us. And so because of that, I believe like, okay, we're we're just very different and unique. And there is this force, kind of like you said earlier, that is like propelling us to, you know, move, you know, whether it's to create or whether it's to do whatever. I've always, that's just a belief I've always had. But yeah, spirit guide. I've been trying to like, um, have you ever seen the movie Soul?
It sounds familiar, but I don't
Oh,
recognize it.
you gotta watch it, man. It's a very it's a DreamWorks. I don't know if it's Pixar, but I mean now kind of fall in the same kind of deal. But it's this animation about this guy, and whoever is listening or watching, I'm about to spoil it for you. So spoiler alert. Uh, it's about this guy. He's a jazz musician, and he kind of uh, he has this dream to become, you know, a jazz, to be part of a jazz band and to kind of live out his life as a jazz musician. Uh, if I'm not mistaken, he's living with his mom, and his mom keeps getting on him to go to these job interviews. But this guy, he wants to become this jazz musician. And so one day, he just decides to go to this, and I may be butchering it, but the point is he decides to go to, I think he's on his way to a job interview, and he's walking there because he doesn't have a car, and there is construction going on in, kind of in the street, and he falls into this manhole, and so he's falling, and essentially he dies, but he's in that in between phase where he's in a coma, but essentially he's dead. And then his soul goes to, I forgot what they call it, but I think they call it the great before, or the great beyond, or something like that, where when you die, like kind of is where your soul is kind of on this, almost this escalator, if you will, to kind of the great white light. And so he sees this big white light, and he's like, oh no, like, I'm sure he's just remembering just what he has heard, or the things that he knows about when you see the big white light, pretty much meaning you're gonna die. And so so it's kind of like this escalator, and all these different souls are kind of on their way to this great white light, and she's trying to make his way back to, he's just trying to escape that white light. But he falls off this escalator, and he's like falls into this place where he meets where he's with a bunch of different souls that haven't incarnated yet. And so in that world, all these souls, they go through different, almost like programs, to kind of choose who they want to incarnate into. Basically, I think you had talked about it in your talk, the one you sent me, but basically he's in this place, for example, like they're learning to be they're learning the emotions of anger, they're learning the emotions of love, and so they experience all these emotions, and they kind of like pick up these little badges to kind of almost signify that those are some of the qualities or characteristics they're going to have when they incarnate on earth. And so this is pretty much like, um, kind of like the pre the pre-life, like where these souls are just choosing who they want to be. Either way, it's just very like, it's a very odd movie, because it's a the target audience is for kids, because it's for, it's the DreamWorks, you know what I mean? uh but I thought it was very interesting that they had a movie like that. But the reason why I bring it up is because you had talked about how, uh, we as souls, we choose the life that we have. And so it's almost like this soul contract that we have, that that we chose. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir. And I definitely got to see this movie. It sounds
You do.
awesome.
You do. It's a very, very good movie.
Thank you for telling me about it.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So it sounds like whoever wrote that movie was maybe into this stuff. So that's really cool. So, yes, we have pre-life planning sessions, where we'll sit down, maybe with some of our guides, maybe some librarians or souls who specialize in helping people plan lives, kind of like a career counselor,
Hmm.
I think. And maybe even some of our friends in spirit, because we have soul groups, like we have families on earth. And so we'll sit down and say, well, what do I need to work on? Well, and your guides will talk. It's like, uh, maybe forgiveness because, last time you weren't very good at that. So they'll sort of plan out a type of a life, maybe some milestones or certain challenges that you're going to encounter. And they may give you a choice of different lives. You can be this guy in Hawaii, you can be this lady in Japan, you can be this, poor guy in wherever, you can be this rich lady and wherever. But what's going to give you some of the best opportunities, maybe to be stabbed in the back and betrayed, and then see if you can just go, all right, let it go, if you can forgive people. So, and we may have many, may have a list of like, things that we're trying to work on.
Yeah.
So there'll be a few. Maybe there's like in college, you have a major, but you have other classes too. You have minors and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
kind of like that. We'll have some major issues and then maybe some minor issues.
Mm.
And so they'll sit and talk to you about it. Almost like showing you on screens, almost like shopping online, like going to
Yeah.
Amazon.soul.net. So it's like, AmazonLife.com or whatever. So, yeah, just shopping online. It's like, what? No. Uh, yeah, I kind of like this one. I like the look and I like the parents. I know that, mother or whatever. So it's incredibly complex.
Hmm.
It's beyond, human understanding to understand how can anybody plan out one life, let alone 7 or 8 billion lives and how they all
Yeah,
interact. It's incredible.
it is.
But yeah, but they'll plan these things out. And then they'll plan contingencies because it's not written in stone.
Mm.
We have free will. We can have that plan that we're going, okay, this is my plan.
Hmm.
Then we can go, nah, never mind.
Yeah.
Screw that plan. I'm gonna do this instead.
Mm.
And so I guess they have to scramble up there to like deal with other, plan C and plan D.
Yeah.
So he's not going to meet this girl. They're not going to have kids because he met this other person or
Yeah.
whatever. Or he killed himself
Yeah.
instead of doing what. So it's incredibly complex. I don't think our most powerful computers could even approach what they're doing up there. I don't
Yeah.
know how they do it. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, so your mat life, you've chosen this
Yeah.
family. You've chosen where you're going to grow up. You've chosen maybe some of your best friends and girlfriends and whatever,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. And maybe some things you want to work on. So, yeah, we have these like blueprints.
That's
And
interesting. That's so
yeah,
interesting to
so
think about and even just ponder, to think that we've had these uh we were predestined in a way. Because if you think about it, the only life we're really conscious of and that we know of is the one that we're currently living. You know what I mean? And so,
Usually, for
what's that?
most people. For most people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Uh, and I've always wondered, why are we only conscious of this life? You know what I mean? Uh, yeah, it's such a. I know it's such a very deep thing to go into. Maybe we get you on the next one. We can talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, it's a very interesting thing to think about. And you
It
know,
is. There's this sort of question. Well, is it all predestined? Is it all written? Or am I the master of my own fate?
mm, yeah,
Well, what I've found and what I believe is it's not either, it's both.
mm,
We do have a plan, and yet we are the masters of our fate as well.
mhm,
Well, we have a blueprint and a plan, but we can choose to go off that plan if we want. We can
yeah,
do something maybe way beyond that plan, better than they even hoped for up there.
yeah,
You never know.
yeah. There is something I do want to ask you. I know in kind of your little bio in your email that you sent me, it says uh, you help guide clients to a deeper understanding of the eternal souls and their current life's mission. Um, how, if someone is listening to this right now and they're in a bind, or maybe they don't like what they're currently doing, or maybe they feel like there's more for them, maybe they feel like they're not living their life purpose, how can they go about that in a pragmatic way?
Um, well, they can contact someone like me who
Mhm,
does this work.
mhm,
Uh, so we could help that person.
mhm,
Um, I want to up a second. Those planning sessions, in our hypno sessions, we can go back and look at them.
okay.
Let's go back to the time when you were planning the mat life. What did you want to do? What was it
Yeah.
all about? And so it was like, wow, okay. Because we sort of forget as we step into a fetus and come to be born. It's like we need to sort of put that world behind us because we need to, it's like a game. We
Yeah.
need to immerse in the rules of the game because that's what we want to do. It's fun. Why
Mhm,
do we play games? Because it's fun.
yeah.
Why do we live lives? Because it's fascinating and it's fun.
Yeah.
We enjoy it and we learn from it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if someone's having a problem or they're stuck, sometimes we just get stuck.
Mhm,
I'm just stagnant. I'm stuck. I'm like dead end job, dead end marriage, whatever. So yeah, you could connect with someone like me who does this kind of thing, and we can help you through it. We can help you examine it. We can take you back and look at your life plan. We can look at talk to your spirit guides and say, what does you need to know right now? That kind of thing. So, but
okay.
besides connecting with someone like me on your own, you can sort of explore this. Like I say, do some kind of a meditation or just getting quiet, maybe just walking in the woods and just like asking questions like to God or to your guides or whatever, asking for help, asking questions, and then trying to listen, and then trying to trust what comes. This is the hard part. You got to trust what comes
Mm.
because you're going to think, well, I'm probably just making that up. Well, that's just my imagination. Well, of course I'd say that. You're going to try and take a leap of faith
Yeah.
and trust what comes. And then one step more, you got to take action on that.
Mhm,
So if, example is say, I work at, I don't know, this job, I don't like it very much. I'd like to go into this field, but, I don't know how to do that. I'm not qualified. I don't know where to start, blah, blah, blah.
mhm,
So you're walking through the woods and you just go, God, help me out. Am I supposed to stay in this job for 40 years? Or can I do this other thing? Or maybe there's a third thing that just see what comes. And maybe you'll get a feeling of, I don't know, UCLA or
Mhm.
some university, or something comes into your mind and you're like, wow, uh, don't dismiss it as your imagination. Try and remember it and go to the internet and look it up and see, hey, maybe they have a program. Maybe UCLA has a program, a night school thing you can do while you're working to become an artist or whatever it is you want to do. So ask, listen, trust, act.
Awesome. Thank you for that response.
Oh, you're
Uh,
welcome. It's my pleasure.
all right.
Just
Well,
making it up as I'm going along.
okay. There you go. Appreciate the honesty. Well, we're nearing the kind of the tail end of the conversation here, and I do have a few final questions that I want to ask you. Um, you know, as of recently, with everything that has been going on, with the world lately, obviously there's this uh, pandemic that's going on, and a lot of fears in the air. I do, a lot of occult, you know, schools of thought have the notion that the earth is going through an awakening. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have my own thoughts, but better than that, I've asked in sessions, I've asked people's spirit guides and other wise beings in spirit. And they say, yes, of course, absolutely. And it's a many pronged, situation.
Uh-huh.
One part of it is, uh, and wherever the virus came from and all that, I could talk about that too, what they've told me, but it
Mhm.
doesn't really matter. This is what it is. And it was sort of a plan
Mm,
or a need that we needed,
mm,
humanity needed.
mm.
So, one thing is we need to understand that we're all in this together.
Yeah,
This is the first time we've ever had, a serious global pandemic.
right.
The Spanish flu in 1918, that was pretty big. It killed like, I don't know, 50 million people or something like that.
Hmm.
But there was probably places you could hide, maybe this island or that, I don't know. But this one, there's like nowhere, there's nowhere to hide
Yeah,
everywhere
yeah,
because we travel so much.
right.
So we really are in this together. So that's
Mhm.
number one. We need to realize, it doesn't matter what nation you belong to, what color you are, whatever, what religion. It is one world,
Mhm.
and we got to take care of each other.
Mhm.
So that's number one. Number two is the world itself and the environment. We need to step back. The first few months of the pandemic, when people were staying inside and uh, not so active, like the environment started coming back up. Birds started, there was more animals and
Yeah.
things start. There are more fish in the ocean now. Realizing like we're having a huge impact on the life of this world. So that's another thing that we really need to look at is step back and look at wow, we need to be a little more caring of this world.
Mm.
And then the other thing that comes to mind is on an individual basis, like stepping back from your life. Like, we've all, most of us, we can't do the things we usually did a year and a half ago. It sucks.
Yeah.
There's things I did a year and a half ago that I haven't been able to do. So, but, it's sort of taking a time out, stepping back, looking at your life, what do you really want? What do you really want to do? Um, it's just giving you like stepping off the hamster wheel,
Mm. Yeah.
stepping off the
I
treadmill
like
and
that.
going, I think about myself. I've been busier during this pandemic than before.
I'm not
I'm doing
surprised.
sessions on on Zoom like this,
Yeah.
because people have time to look at their lives and they realize they're screwed up or they need
Yeah.
help. So that's, I'd say that, we'll leave that the third one is like on an individual basis, stepping back and looking at your life and going,
Yeah.
what do I really want?
Awesome. Well, thank you for your response and sharing your thoughts on that.
Of course.
Um, Another question is, what does, humanity, in your opinion and your thoughts, what does humanity need to do in order for us to move forward in, what's the best way I can put it? Move forward in a positive way, in a way that's going to benefit uh, everyone involved.
That's a big question. I have to think about that.
I'm here for the big questions.
What, good. What can humanity do to move forward?
Yeah. And it could be a simple answer.
Well, I would go back to those things I just talked about.
Yeah.
Number one, be kinder to each other,
Mhm.
because we are all in this together.
Yeah.
It's not us and them, it's just us.
Yeah.
Just realizing that. That goes for countries, that goes for your next door neighbor,
Mhm.
everything. Because, we are in mammal bodies, we're territorial and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
we got to realize it's just us.
Mhm.
And the second thing is maybe to look at our technology and our environment and that kind of thing. Like, look at all these electric cars, Tesla and all these companies. Toyota's been doing it for a while, the hybrids. All these new car companies are coming because we need to wean off fossil fuels eventually, at least to some extent.
Mhm.
This is a pretty amazing time. 50 years from now or 100 years from now, they're going to look back on the 20th century and into the 21st century and go, oh, that was the time when you fouled up the environment and almost ruined it for everybody with your cars and your airplanes and, your gas guzzling machine.
Yeah.
When you almost, using the polluting fossil fuels and stuff. So the second thing I would say is like, think about the environment, think about technology. Technology is amazing. It's growing, it's developing, incredible science and technology. I love it.
Mhm.
So take care of each other, take care of our world,
Mhm.
and then again, back to you. You
Yeah.
need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I would say, I would leave you with this, Matt. We can talk about more stuff, but you got to follow your heart.
Mm.
Forget about what everyone else told you, your parents, your teachers, your professors, whatever, your boss. There are things to learn from them, but it really comes to you. What do you feel? What do you want to do? Who do
Mhm.
you want to be?
Yeah.
What does your heart tell you is the right thing? Don't let your head take control. It'll just tie you in a pretzel. Let your heart be your compass.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Very beautiful response, Scott. Appreciate that. And then one final question, and like you said, another big question coming right at you. um, I'm pretty existential when it comes to just thinking about life, and I always enjoy hearing and listening to other people's opinions on life, which is why I started this podcast. And this is how I like to book in every single podcast by asking the question, what is the meaning or purpose to our human life here?
Well, this is a question I deal with on almost a daily basis.
Oh, okay.
And so I would say to learn, to grow, and just to have experiences and to enjoy,
To learn, to grow,
to
to have
experience,
experiences and enjoy.
to enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I love
And
it.
enjoy our lives.
I love it. I think that's
Er,
important, especially in it. Yeah, enjoying your life. Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you for that response, Scott, and
My
thank you for
pleasure.
your time here on the Trach Talk podcast. Again, everyone, this is Scott, and where can people find you at, Scott?
Thank you. My main website is lightbetweenlives.com, LIGHT, between LIVES.com. That's my main website. So lightbetweenlives.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, lightbetweenlives.com. I'll plug it in the
Thank you.
show notes and the description, depending on where you're listening or watching. Again, everyone, thank you again for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Matt. It's been a great hour plus. I really enjoyed it. Nice to
Awesome.
meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Thank you.